Welcome to another episode of the Gauntlet Podcast. My name is Jason.
My name is David.
My name is Dan.
Cool. Well, it has been a pretty good week for gaming in the Gauntlet. We always have good weeks, I think, but this has been an exceptionally good week for me anyway. Every game I played this week, I was just really on point. So, but we're not going to start with my list. We'll start with David's. David, what have you been up to?
Well, this week I got to play Danger Mountain with Dan. We were tweaking the rules and looking at some new ways of doing things in that game, and I feel like it was a successful play test.
I'm very interested to hear how this went.
I think that it was definitely worth playing at the point where, like, the rules were at this point. It kind of worked. I feel like it maybe kind of worked a little better than rules as written, but still not quite where it should be.
It didn't feel complete to me, but it was definitely a complete enough game to play. You know, it was definitely a beta.
Right, yeah.
Oh, did you have fun?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely enjoyed myself, but it didn't feel like a complete, well-polished, kind of experience.
Well, so was it more fun than the first time you played? Like with the original as written?
So I think that it felt a little bit like one of the difficult things about Danger Mountain, I think, is getting, like, because it's a disaster thing, right? And so there's supposed to be people in danger at all times and all of this, and you're trying to rescue people. But, like, in the original game and also in the game that we played this week, it never felt super dangerous, I don't think. I mean, David, what'd you think?
That was definitely the biggest drawback that I felt that it had and that it needed the most improvement on, was feeling more dangerous, more like the characters were imminently going to die.
Right, yeah, because there's this idea in the original game of, like, you go to do, like, a rescue, and then you flip over the card, and that shows what character is in danger, and then you try to rescue them. But, like, it doesn't ever feel like your characters are in danger. And so I tried to tweak that a little bit and make, like, everybody's characters who are in the scene are at risk of death. But even then, I don't think it was quite doing it. So I think we're going to go back and, like, we kind of talked about it after the game, and I think the idea is just, like, every scene, like, everybody's in danger now, and, like, anybody can die in every scene. So even if they're not actively being played, I think that might be doing it.
So, question. Why couldn't we just do the final girl where the killer is the disaster and all of the characters are people who could be killed by the disaster? Like, what is the Danger Mountain-ness of it?
Because that's not the vibe that it's going for, right? Like, disaster movies, everybody but one person doesn't always die. Right? Like, it's all
true.
about rescuing people and heroically saving people.
Oh, so we're not killing them.
No, I mean, ideally, you want to be rescuing people, but there's no satisfaction in rescuing people if they're not, like, really in danger, right? So if it doesn't feel tense enough, then, like, the rescues aren't interesting. Because it's like, it's almost a foregone conclusion that, like, we're going to come across this guy and then we're going to rescue him and everything's going to be cool. So, Right. So you need more tension and, like, more life and death struggles and drama and all that good stuff.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely found myself thinking that as we were playing it. Why aren't we just playing the final girl where the killer is the disaster? But then towards the end of the game, I realized, well, that wouldn't work very well at all for the reasons that we mentioned. But just the fact that, every scene, not necessarily anyone's going to die, like, changes the way that it feels a lot.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, well, that disaster is going to take another pass at us if my character survives right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, is there anything else you guys want to say about it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's still kind of a work in progress. So.
Well, so that was our like our spillover game for Wednesday. I don't know, whatever it was. It was kind of like the second of two tables on Wednesday. Are you going to, like, continue to try to play test this on Wednesdays, or what's your plan?
Oh, not immediately. So I'll let everybody have a little Danger Mountain break before I foist it upon them again. But in the future, it will be foisted upon people again. So.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, let me know if you want a returning playtester. I really enjoyed what you were doing with it there.
Great, thanks.
I'm anxious to get it on the playtest just because there is presently, no reason for my name to be on it anywhere.
That's very true.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah. So, like, unless I get it on the playtest or something, like, there's except for just maybe arranging the opportunity. I think that's it. Okay. Cause I've never even played regular Danger Mountain. So
yeah, definitely. If I can be one of the villains, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, hey, that's pretty good. Yeah. You can make me a villain.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I'll take that. I'm a character in Spirit of 77.
So how would you be destroying the environment, Jason?
Oh gosh, what a good question. I may have to think about this during the segment and then come back to you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
Yeah.
There's got to be, I think there's something good there.
Yeah.
Something particularly me, but I don't know what it is yet. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, cool. Well, what else did you play?
All right.
David?
The next thing that I played was Love Letter. We got together to play Dungeon World, but we didn't quite have enough people, and everyone was pretty drained from the work week, and so we decided to just chit chat and play Love Letter instead.
This is the Thursday group. The
Thursday group
that I do not have a sufficient supervisory role over.
Well, I kind of blame you for this one because you said you were going to be there and then you bailed.
Oh, thanks for calling me out. We love Love Letter. We've talked about it a million times.
Fantastic game. Yeah. Nothing I can really add to that except for the more you play with the same group of people, the faster and less involved the game feels. You can read people so much easier.
Oh yeah, the game is really quite different with the same group. You're right. Like I notice because I play with my sisters a lot, and whenever I play with my sisters, it's a very specific kind of experience. Whereas when I play with other people, it's really quite different, and I like that about it. I like that it has a different feel with a different group, like depending on how well you know them.
Definitely. Then the last thing that I played was 44, a game of automatic fear, and Jason, you were also there for that, so you want to leave it for...
I'll set it up. Right. So 44 is a game we've played before, and we played it again the other day.
Would you call it an Air Bud of science fiction or fantasy?
You know, that's not a bad way of characterizing it. I kind of like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So 44... It's essentially Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the role-playing game. It's by Matt Snyder, who also did Dust Devils, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is a little better than Dust Devils, personally, but it's not as well known as Dust Devils, but I think it should be because I think it's a little better. But it's really good. You play, one player is the GM character called the Director. They play the part of the robot conspiracy called Section 44. And the other players play Joe Q citizens in 1950s America. Okay. Basically, the characters are just trying to survive. Like, there's no expectation that they're going to actually fight back against the robots or, like, destroy the conspiracy. They're just trying to survive till the end of the game. They're trying not to be replaced, and turned into robots, right? That's what this conspiracy is. That robots grab you and then replace you with a robot that looks like you, right?
Right. So pretty bleak.
It's pretty, yeah, a bit, yeah. But it's got this, like, if you're playing it right, I think it has this nice, like, veneer of, like, 1950s artificiality, which is kind of cool. It kind of shines through. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. So I think a lot of story games that we play, I think the story that we're telling and the way we're engaging in the narrative is about 75% of the work, or 75% of, like, what's most important. And the other 25% is the rules, right? But I think 44 is, like, a slightly different balance. I think 44 is, like, a 50-50 thing. You really have to want to engage with the mechanics of the game. It's not complex, but it's definitely a little fiddly. And you can win or lose. Like, the GM player is actively trying to stop you from winning, right?
Right.
So it's very kind of interesting in that way. But I like it. It's really good. What do you think, David?
Oh yeah, it's great. As the second time I've gotten to play it, and both times, even though they were months apart, they really hit the same kind of tone and the same general what's going on in the world, even though our characters were entirely different. But you definitely have to try and engage this idea that my character is not hyper competent. He is just Joe Citizen trying to cope with the fact that he just found out, the little boy who plays down the road is actually a robot now.
Right, yeah. The game is awesome. One of the things it does that I think is really cool is from scene to scene, the characters are just trying to escape from the robots and trying to survive, right? But then, like, periodically, you have these moments where you also show what's going on in the sort of, like, the bigger picture. Like, you show, like, the robot conspiracy at, like, a bigger level, like maybe like, what's things that are going on in the United States or whatever. So like in our game the other day, we had like it was a butcher and a hobo and, anyway, it's not important, but we had these three regular guys and they were all, they're running away, trying to survive and they're each like in their own kind of little separate small scale story. But then you like pull away from that momentarily to show the vice president being replaced, right, by a robot, that kind of thing, right? Like you see a car manufacturing plant being changed into a robot manufacturing plant, that kind of thing. So, I kind of like that sort of, that back and forth in the game, like you do these like little small, like individual stories and then you kind of pull back and do the bigger story and go back and forth. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a cool feature of it. 44, a game of automatic fear. People should check that out.
And those were all my games this week.
Cool. Dan, what have you been playing?
So, the only thing besides Danger Mountain was Society of Dreamers. So, on Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah.
That night, we got together, turned the lights down low, lit some candles, and pretended to be 19th century mysticism dudes.
Yes.
Investigating the strange creatures who lived in our dreams.
The Nemosites.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've talked about Society of Dreamers on the cast before, at some length on episode 0, if anybody cares to go listen to that. This is the first time you've played it in the dark, though, right?
It is, yeah.
What'd you think?
It's definitely got a much better vibe at night and like sort of by candlelight and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's much easier to sort of get into like the right mindset.
I agree.
For like, because it's actually a surprisingly like spooky game, I think, if you're doing it right. Yeah. So
definitely is. I am like super sad that I had to miss. My parents were in town, and that was the only reason that I was going to miss that.
Can we just talk about how family is the worst?
Shout out to mom and dad. Sorry.
Well, but you played Once in the Dark with us.
I did.
So you haven't completely missed out. Yeah, you're one of like a very small group of people in the Gauntlet who's gotten to experience Society of Dreamers in the Dark. So, no, it's great. I mean, there were moments where I just had I had chills. Like I felt so creeped out by what we were doing, and it was amazing. And I maintain that like Call of Cthulhu will never pull that off. So,
I agree.
Never, ever. like I will never ever feel genuine fear or terror by, decreasing my SAN score. You know, like that'll just never happen. Like it's just never going to happen. So,
right.
No, Society of Dreamers really, really hits it. And, you know, especially when you like really, really follow the rules. Like, that's one of those games where it's, to get the most out of it, you really must follow all of the rules, right? You have to do it exactly as prescribed.
Even the Ouija board?
We did.
You guys did the Ouija board?
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, the Ouija board. We did the Ouija board in our game too.
We did, but the very first time we played it, we were like,
the very first time we played, we didn't. But that was a mistake though. I mean, play with the Ouija board, like do the little rituals in the beginning. Don't make jokes. Like the book says, is very explicit about like, don't make jokes. Don't like, this is not a time to have levity, right? Like this is a dark thing. And
and that's hard to do for about like the first round of scenes, right? Got like the instinct to try to like make easy jokes and stuff. But after about one trip around the table, like my head was not in the place to even make jokes anymore.
Me too.
So,
Well, and I think having the lights off
becomes
helped.
real easy. Yeah.
Yeah, having the lights off helped with that a lot. And I think it's, you know, you're right. It's, and that's the space you want to be in. Like, and it feels good. Like, it feels really, really good to be like, be taking it so seriously, right? Whereas if you take even like a minute to like step outside of yourself and realize what you're doing with a group of grown ass men around the table, that may break up, but don't do that, listener. Like, just take it real serious and do it like, you know, and it's awesome. So it is a great time. It's probably one of my favorite role playing experiences that one can engage in. I think it's a really, really good one. People should go do it. So
absolutely. I gotta ask, how did you guys finish it out? I know that's something we've had trouble with the first two times, is how to end the game.
Yeah, we actually went all the way through to the end, and we did confront the Nemesites at the end.
I mean, in a manner of speaking.
We didn't like fight them or whatever,
right.
But like, just so listeners understand, one of the things that you do in the game is you're trying to investigate what these creatures are, these Nemesites, and according to the rules, you're supposed to lead up to like a final confrontation with the Nemesites and play that out. I'm a little leery about that final confrontation. I just worry that like, if you see the Nemesites on screen, like in a real, like obvious way, you're going to have like a kind of like the aliens at the end of the movie Signs experience, right? Yeah. Where that kind of ruins the tension a little bit. So I think you can confront the Nemesites at the end, but just be a little bit more oblique about it. Like, I think putting them like right on screen and like talking to them is not the right move. But I guess it depends on the story you're telling too. Yeah. So who knows?
So, and I think our story like got more and more surreal as it went on, and there were like large shifts in time where it was like, you know, one scene was in summer, then the next scene's in the winter, and there's no explanation of how we got there.
Those are really cool scenes though. Like,
Just
random abrupt like changes in time, and like, well, also because time was a theme in the game. Like, we had a character with like watches and stopwatch, or like little like watches, who was like measuring like time fluctuations and stuff. Like, you know, and it reached this like almost insanity like level of like there were like dozens and hundreds of clocks in the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and it was pretty cool.
But yeah, so like things got kind of more and more weird and like abstract as we went on. And then the ending, like the way we wrapped it up was really, I think that I'm sure that all of us left with our own interpretation of what actually happened in the story. And weirdly though, none of us even talked about like what we thought had happened really. Like, there was very minimal conversation, and like, I don't know. I just thought that I got something that like, you know, personally, I got a really satisfying story out of it, but I don't know that I got the same story as everybody else.
Right. Yeah. But I think it's okay though.
Yeah.
It's like reading a good piece of literature, you know, which I don't do, but I gather it's like reading a good piece of literature and interpreting it a certain way, you know, that's personal to you. I think that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the closest experience like that I've gotten from other media would be like watching Mulholland Drive or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
Where
one of my favorite
when it's
movies.
done, you're like, well, that was really cool. I might have some clue about what happened, but I'm not entirely confident in my interpretation of it.
The great thing about that is David Lynch doesn't know what happened. Like, he's done interviews where it's like, it's really obvious he doesn't know what the fuck it's about either.
All right.
His own movie, yeah.
Well, so then it's exactly like our game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so my list was the Society of Dreamers and also 44. And then the only other thing is I played a game of Fiasco. We used the Salem 1692 playset. Pretty cool. That's one that I've always wanted to play. It's one of the older playsets, and I finally got around to playing that one. I liked it a lot. It was a good one. I was very happy with, it was Russ and Kristen and myself. It's a 3-player Fiasco. 3-player Fiasco is really quite different from 4-player Fiasco. It is a different kind of fiasco. Not worse or better, but just definitely different. The story you tell is a little bit more intense and ferocious and fast, I think. Like it's more and it's more tight and small, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense. But
I mean, that makes more sense, right? Because you have less scenes overall.
Right.
So you have 3/4 of the scenes that you would in a 4-player game.
You have to kind of get right to it.
Right.
You gotta
Yeah,
get right to it.
There's really no degrees of separation anymore. The characters are all
Right. They're all
directly tied.
interlocked. Yeah. Our story was awesome. I'm not going to dwell on it, but it's about, the playset is about like the Salem witch trials. Really cool thing. And I'm glad that our story went in this direction. There was no actual witchcraft or magic on screen or in the game, right? Like essentially the people being accused of witchcraft they were being accused by men trying to cover up their sexual dalliances with these women, right? So they were accusing them of witchcraft, and seducing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it was a cool story. It was really good. But yeah, that's it. So why don't we go ahead and move on to Giving Me Life? All right, so our next segment, as always, is Giving Me Life. I think I'll start. So the thing giving me life this week, or the things, I guess, are mega dungeons. All right, now.
So what is a mega dungeon?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Dan. A mega dungeon is a great big ass dungeon. That's all it is. Like,
All right. Well, that
just
sounds
huge, yeah.
appropriately named.
Right. Yeah, it's just a dungeon, like a D&D dungeon.
Okay. Right.
Really big.
Does it have dragons in it?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, and temples and portals to other worlds.
How did they
and
get the
castles.
dragons in?
Lube cube. Lube cube. Everyone knows you use the lube cube to fit long, large monsters down tight dungeon corridors. So that's how that's how the wizards get the dragons in there.
Thank you for explaining how they got the
Yes.
dragons in.
So, anyway, mega dungeons. Okay, so I play lots of story games. That's a thing. It's just what I do. It's what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, or however long it's been. But my heart belongs to old school D&D. It really does. At my most elemental self, old school D&D is my jam, right? I don't play D&D. I play Dungeon World. So I'm ready to get back into Dungeon World, and I've got some stuff coming up in April for Dungeon World. But I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do a mega dungeon, which is one of these aforementioned gigantic dungeons. And so the classic mega dungeon is like Undermountain, in the Waterdeep, Forgotten Realms setting. Is this ringing a bell to anybody? No? Okay.
No.
All right. Well, so that's the classic mega dungeon. I think Pathfinder has one out called the Emerald Spire. There are lots of just kind of homebrewed mega dungeons available on the internet. I've been doing lots and lots of mega dungeon research. I've been looking at lots of mega dungeons and, absorbing them and kind of cherry picking ideas from them that I want to put in my own mega dungeon. And,
so you're combining mega dungeons into a mega dungeon.
It's like a Frankenstein's monster of mega dungeons. Yes, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Kind of a sort of synchronicity type thing. There's this game called Dark Souls. It's on PlayStation. You guys know that one?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great game. This guy, I don't know when it was released, but it was on all the video game websites today. He did this cutaway version or side view version of the entire realm of the Dark Souls game, but hand drawn and this really beautiful side view map. It's really neat, and it's a mega dungeon. It's just a really cool mega dungeon, and so that was kind of neat.
Yeah,
But
I saw that. I didn't understand any of it because I have never played Dark Souls, but it looked cool.
It is really cool. Yeah, I mean, and the details are great. If you zoom in on the picture, it's really awesome. If you've played the game, it's more meaningful, I guess. But So yeah, that's what's giving me life. Just kind of getting ready to dive back into Dungeon World, getting ready to do my mega dungeon. I hope the players are excited. Also, that's going to be on Thursdays. We'll start to enforce some discipline on that day of the week. So get that going again, get it back into shape. Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right.
David, what's giving you life?
What's giving me life this week is...
I should like to mention, you have what stands as probably the best giving me life so far of the whole show, of the whole series, which was on episode 8, folks, and it's about 75% off hot dogs. It's very good. It's very funny. Top that.
Oh, I don't know if I can top that, but we're gonna give it a whirl, I guess. So what's giving me life this week is sea monkeys, and
I'm loving it already. Yeah.
well, who doesn't love sea monkeys?
Right.
I mean,
I do not love sea monkeys.
Well, what's the matter with you?
I don't know.
Do you just hate joy?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, something
I only like mega dungeons. That's it.
Just mega dungeons. Are there different escalations of dungeon besides mega?
Like something in between like dungeon and mega dungeon. I don't know.
Is there are there like metric prefixes for dungeons? Are there like, cause there's like nano dungeons, right?
Is that a thing?
Probably.
Nano
You
dungeon?
just made that up. There's no such thing as
That's just
nano
a
dungeons.
room where things are scary.
It's like a room, yeah.
It's the broom closet. What is that? What's a nano dungeon? Wow. You just made that up.
It fits
Is
on
there-
one sheet of paper. It's a nano
Is there like an Asian super mega dungeon?
Like Super Mega Dungeon 2 Turbo Edition? Is that what
Yeah,
you're talking
yeah,
about?
something
I
like
don't know.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys. So someone got me some sea monkeys
When?
like 2 months ago.
Okay, so while you were an adult man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clarify that. Confirm that for the listeners.
Yeah, someone tossed some sea monkeys my way because I was making a joke about sea monkeys, so they thought it'd be funny to get me some actual sea monkeys. And you know what? They're a blast. You toss the little bead egg things into the water, and lo and behold, like 7 days later, you got little sea monkeys, like 50 of them, just scurrying around.
What are they?
They're a breed of like shrimp, little bitty shrimps.
Oh, okay.
They're like brine shrimp, but bred for, like, the literature on them is just fantastic because it's the sea monkey, like, propaganda. And it's all about, like, oh, these were made, for human cohabitation in an office environment. So they can perfectly live in 70-degree constant weather. And
Is that what they evolved for? They're like, yes.
they were designed for it. NASA engineered these suckers.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Like, is that a real
I feel
thing?
like that's probably
That's
more
not
sea
true.
monkey
I mean,
propaganda.
That's more sea monkey propaganda. That's not.
They say that they bred them so that they could be doing tests on them. They brought them to space and were testing out different life in space.
Kind of makes sense, I guess.
I mean, they're
can see
very,
that.
very small. It makes sense that you would take something very small like that to space to test it out.
Yeah.
But now it's just like a child's thing from back in the 70s, and the literature hasn't changed one bit.
I love it.
Like, they still are like, oh yeah, you can get, more sea monkey stuff for free. Just mail it in.
Like, the kids are like, what's that?
What's the mail, Mom?
Mommy, what's a stamp? Yeah.
Exactly. And
So have you taught them any tricks?
no, I haven't taught them any tricks.
It comes with a training manual or something, right? Or am I imagining that?
Maybe
from
the
my
more
past?
robust ones do.
Okay.
But mine was the like cheap version, or I guess. Like, it didn't even come with everything to like sustain them properly.
Oh, okay. Because I thought that they used to come with like rings and stuff that you could like.
Oh, mine has
teach
some.
them to swim through.
Mine has some
really?
little rings,
Oh,
and,
really?
and they just like
right, and they will randomly swim.
They
through
just
it,
randomly
and you're
swim
like,
through it.
Great.
Yeah. The best part of my sea monkeys is I just kind of have I have this little god complex now with them. Like, will I feed you today? I don't know. Let's find out. But
Get PETA on this. PETA.
Seriously.
Tumblr.
but then I had to go out of town to New Orleans, and so I tried to have like a little windfall for them. Like right before I left, dumping a whole bunch of food in there, and then
Oh, that sounds like a real solid plan.
and there were like at that time there were like 6 or 7 really big ones, and then a bunch of little ones.
Right, yeah.
And I come back, and there's like 3.
Oh, what they do? They like cannibalize each other, or they just die?
Yes.
Oh God! Wow.
Like the majority of the small ones died, and then the big ones ate the rest.
oh, so
And-
sad.
So not perfectly evolved for life with you.
No. You're supposed to feed them every 5 days. I was gone for 7 days. I thought they could make it.
Turns out it's a very delicate eco there. Yeah.
But there was no way I was going to ask one of my friends to go feed the sea monkeys while I'm out of town.
You could have asked me. I wouldn't have
You
done
wouldn't
it.
have done
No,
it.
I wouldn't have done it. No way.
I could have asked Dan. He's already got an indentured pet.
You do.
That's true, yeah.
You're the indentured servant of your pet.
Well, I mean, really, that's the owner-pet relationship in all
is
pet
I
cases.
guess so,
Just
yeah.
a little bit. But,
I don't think anybody's dog goes to the store to get them food.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. But you have, so Dan has a tarantula, just so everybody knows. And, as best we can tell, he has no relationship with it at all.
No, it's basically furniture that I have to feed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Live crickets every 2 weeks. Yep. So for how many years now?
Going on about 10 years now.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how long is she expected to live?
Oh, it turns out anywhere up to 30 years.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a long time.
All right. Cool.
But last note on the sea monkeys, you can get some
yeah.
awesome little accessories for them. Like you can get a keychain and keep your sea monkeys in a keychain on your.
Keep it with you.
Keep them with you all the time. You can get little diamond beads that have like a tiny little pocket of air so that they're a little bit buoyant and they'll play with them. But not when they're too little. If they're too little, it'll crush them and kill them. And they warn you of this on the packaging. They're like, careful, kids, don't put them in when they're too small.
Wow. What is it about, like, toys from the 70s that were just, like, why did kids just accept these toys that were just, like, didn't do anything? You know, like sea monkeys or, like, the pet rock.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Like, the pet rock.
this is just
like,
one half step up from a pet rock.
like,
Right.
yeah. Okay, sea monkeys. That was a pretty good story, David. That's about I'm giving it an 8.2 out of 10, I think. It's
10 being a hot dog story.
The hot dog story is pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good. All right, Dan, what's giving you life?
So when I was in Vegas recently, one of the things that I didn't do but saw a lot of signs for was shooting guns, because basically like half of the Vegas economy, I think, is based around like tourists shooting guns in the desert.
You can't do that in Texas, so it's...
Yeah, well, so that's why I didn't do it, because I was like, I feel like an idiot, like, spending my vacation time shooting guns in Vegas when I could just shoot guns in Texas.
Right, yeah, we just go into the neighbor's backyard, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, when I got back, I found a Groupon for, like, a first-time shooting experience, because it's been, like, going on 30 years since the last time I shot a gun. So, I don't know what kind of qualifications you have to be, like, a first-time shooting guy. But
the first time shooting guy, what does that phrase even mean?
Well, so he's like a guy who has a Groupon and happens to own a trunk full of guns.
Oh, I see. The guy who like arranged this Groupon. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't have guns, right? So I have to find somebody who has guns. And so there's a dude who like sets up this thing on Groupon, and he's like, I got a trunk full of guns. I'll show you how to shoot them. So met this dude at the shooting range. Yeah,
not even his shooting range.
No, it's some other.
Wait, this is just some guy that does
It's just some guy who owns a lot of guns.
Man, I should really get in on this.
It's
Like,
just
I
a
can do this.
homeboy with guns in his trunk. I love it.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
pretty good. Yeah.
So I could tell that he was legit because on the back of his shirt that it said firearm instructor. So I was like, all right, cool, let's go.
Surely they don't just give that shirt out to anybody.
Right, I know.
Yeah, you can't just print those.
No.
Yeah.
So that was all of the proof I needed that he was on the up and up and knew what he was doing and was the perfect man to instruct me in like shooting firearms. So anyway, I like worked my way up through like 3 calibers of pistols and then into rifles. And man, I have to say, like, the gun store that is attached to the shooting range that we went to was closed because I went on Sunday, and on the hours on the gun store it says like, you know, their hours for all of the days that aren't Sunday, and then it says Sunday closed. Come meet us at Second Baptist Church at 11
Oh, boy.
to join us in worship.
Hey, that's my gun range.
Wow.
I know that gun range.
Wow.
I won't mention it because clearly
Welcome to Texas,
we're not loving
folks.
it right
Yeah.
now. But
Boy, this
I love
is
that
like
gun range.
This whole story is like Texas,
I know,
like microcosm.
But I have to say that like if that gun store was open, I may have come home with an AR-15. So it's probably a good thing that it didn't, because man, it's a fun gun.
Wow.
So-
Definitely.
Well, if you ever, you could have just done this for free if you had just asked me and not paid the Groupon guy, but
Oh well, you know.
if you ever have any questions, please feel free.
Have you found the anti-government militia you plan on joining yet? Have you
so
sorted that out yet?
I've been like weighing my options for possible militia groups to join. So I haven't found the one that feels like the right fit for me personally. But once I get my bunker set up and get my bug out bag stocked up, then I'll find my militia, I think. So
Sounds good. All right. Oh boy. So guns are giving you life?
they are, yeah. Welcome to America.
Yeah,
I guess America. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Let's go to the next segment. So for our topic today, we wanted to discuss, well, I don't really know what it is we want to discuss, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think we want to discuss like the idea of like beautiful snowflakes in role-playing games. Is that fair? As we've conceptualized this topic.
Sure. So maybe you should explain what you mean by that.
Maybe I should. David thought of this idea, but I've kind of hijacked it with my own thoughts and then made it my own. So here's what okay. So I had this conversation with a member of the Gauntlet a couple weeks ago, and they will remain nameless for the time being. But basically, this person was explaining to me how they cannot get into Dungeon World. They've never played it, but from what they've seen of Dungeon World, they can't get into it, and they want to stick with Pathfinder. And here's the reason why. Because Pathfinder lets you create, and I'm using his words here, a more unique character. Okay? Like you can have a more like unique to you character, right? Like if you want the half gnome, half were-rat illusionist or whatever, I guess you
then
could
you buy the gnome were-rat's black book.
Exactly, right. And to be fair, he was looking at the core book for Dungeon World, and Dungeon World's core classes are you get to be a dwarf, an elf, or a human, or a halfling if you're a thief, right? Like,
right.
It's pretty old school and focused on the sort of like, sort of tropes of fantasy gaming, right? Now, I tried to explain to him that there's a whole like huge, massive community of fan-made stuff that lets you expand on those ideas, right? And so you can make that cool, unique thing. But he was kind of hung up on the idea of like basically anything that wasn't published by Sage and Adam was like not canon. It was not canonical and therefore didn't count. That's
an interesting outlook though, because
it is.
I mean, Pathfinder, there's a million third-party things for. Yeah.
I guess, I'm not sure. I mean,
Pathfinder is third-party D&D.
D&D, yeah, I know. Yeah, Well, okay. So anyway, I think he just, was, maybe he wasn't aware of like kind of what was all out there. I don't know, but he was just thinking, I think he was just seeing like the Dungeon World product as it was, right? The official Dungeon World product. Right.
Yeah.
That's a separate.
And I guess to be fair, a lot of the Dungeon World add-ons are like a PDF that some dude uploaded to the internet. It's not a book you can go buy or anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's totally fair. So I kind of got his point, I guess. I don't think it's a good point, but I understood where he's coming from. But it's a separate issue. I want to talk about this idea of like, I have to have this unique character. I have to be unique. What do you guys think of that? I feel like some people are really obsessed with that. Like you think about the guy, this is shitty role-playing game behavior. Shitty role-playing game behavior. The guy who comes to the table, brand new campaign, and he's got like a 10-page backstory for his guy. Like that guy, like, I think that's the same impulse, right? I want my guy to be unique, right? I want him to be like the beautiful snowflake. Like, what do you guys think about that? Is there any utility in this? What's the point of it?
Well, just in my gaming history, I have had a DM ask me to do that.
Ugh.
I have too.
Yeah. Please bring your character and give me the notes on him before we start so I can be like creating the story with your character in it. So maybe that's something that happens in those kinds of, trad games. And we don't really do that. And
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
So,
and just as an aside there, like the few times my backstory would ever come up in a game like that, I was super uncomfortable because I was like, this has got to be so awful for everyone who's not me.
Yeah, and that's what sucks about. So I think that's kind of what I'm hitting on, Dan. Is I feel like whenever you have this like very me focused like idea of what I want my character to be, it's all focused on me and my thoughts. Like I think you're not being. I don't think you're being like collaborative, or I don't think you're being like I don't know. I just feel like you're trying to like just tell your own little story, right? And I think that bothers me a little bit. I think I'm just kind of fundamentally bothered by that. But I also think there's a lot of like just utility in tropes. I think there's a lot of utility in tropes. So we can go into that. I don't know. I can talk about that forever. I don't want to launch into it. If you have anything else to say about just the idea of like just uniqueness, big picture. I mean,
yeah, just before we hit on the tropes thing, I think that it is important that, we are playing role-playing games. So you should feel something about your characters. You should be invested in them, whether they're a trope or they are a unique snowflake. You should care.
Okay, so you're saying that like people who want to have like a very unique, and every time I say unique, listeners, I'm putting it in quotes, just so you know, it's in quotes. Every time somebody wants to have a unique character, they're just trying to like invest in their character.
I would hope so.
to assist in their role playing.
I would hope so.
I don't buy that, but
Obviously that's not the reality all the time. If you're writing a 15-page backstory,
yeah, you just wanted to write a story. That's all.
you might have just wanted to force your fiction on someone else, and maybe you should have just been the GM and made a railroad, and made sure that everyone left your game because you need to learn that your story's not that great.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, okay. So here's the thing. I have this like concept that I call ornateness, or I call it like ornateness in role playing games, like characters. And the idea is characters and settings that are very, very fiddly in their fiction. Like they have lots of like strange details, or they have lots of like very atypical, like things they're very like stridently non-tropey. I think that's hard to do in role-playing games. I think an ornate setting or an ornate character is difficult to roleplay in or with. Okay. I think there's a certain amount of utility in tropes, because tropes are tropes for a reason, because everyone understands them. Everyone understands the half-elf ranger. Everyone understands the dwarven fighter, right? Everyone understands 1950s suburbia, right? Like everyone understands that. And so because you have a good understanding of it, you're able to like bring your A game to the roleplay part of it. Thoughts?
I think that while I am sort of with you to some extent, you can be overly tropey, right? Because I swear to God, the next person I play with who's playing like the dwarf who's carrying around the cask of beer with him and talking in a Scottish accent, like that dude can just go home. Cause seriously, we've all seen that shit and it's never good, right?
Okay. So my response. Yes, okay. We've all seen that before. I agree. I think the Lord of the Rings movies probably poisoned the well a little bit in this regard.
Well, that was a thing before the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay, all right. But here's the thing. I guess this came up with this guy that I'm talking about. We were having this conversation, and I posed this question to him because he said something similar, like, I'm tired of the half-elf ranger. I'm tired of the tropey, I'm tired of that stuff in role-playing games and in fantasy games. And my response was, have you played so many role-playing games? You've played so many role-playing games that you're tired of the tropes already? That's a fair question to ask, right?
I'm tired of the tropes.
All right.
Dan is tired of the truth.
I don't know. I mean, well, Dan, you do play a lot of role-playing games, so maybe you have. But I think a lot of people, I think there's still so much like fertile ground to explore in the half-elf ranger and in the dwarf who walks around with the ale of his halls, you know? Like, I think that you can put a spin on that character to make it not seem so generic, but without it being like, I don't know. You don't have to be the purple pansexual kitsune every time, you know?
Sure,
that's
yeah. That's not helpful. I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe the difference is like your character's personality shouldn't be the tropes. Your character should have like a personality that defines them, not necessarily a class that defines them or stats that define them or something like that.
Okay, so I think we might be getting somewhere.
Okay.
That's pretty good. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a good point to draw between a trope and a generic character, because I don't know if a lot of my favorite characters, I would probably call them pretty unique. A lot of my favorite characters that I've played in the past few months, but when I think about them, they were actually in a character class that was a trope. I just didn't play them like a trope.
Right. Okay. So, all right. So it sounds like what we're hitting on is your character doesn't have to be a beautiful snowflake, but they also don't have to be generic.
Yes.
Is that fair? Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Because here's the thing. Like, I think going back to your guys' point about personality and my purple pansexual kitsune, not to suggest that pansexuality is like unique or odd. I just want to throw that out there. It just rhymes. It's just alliterative with purple. So don't go after me. If I play a purple pansexual kitsune, am I saying kitsune? Is that right? Kitsune?
Something.
Kitsune?
I don't know.
I've always said kitsune. Little fox humanoid. If I'm playing that character, I'm avoiding the half-elf ranger. I don't want to play the half-elf ranger because it's cliche, right? But I think it's worse to play the purple pansexual kitsune who just feels like a half-elf ranger, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know, like if you're going to have something really strange and unique, if you're going to have a half were-rat, half gnome illusionist, like you need to do something in the role play, in the fiction that brings that alive. Don't just have it be your own little personal, like, theater of, little theater, mind theater, you know, of, oh, is my guy cool to me? It's great. But let me go ahead and roll my dexterity, right? You know, like you need to like do something with it. So anyway, that's kind of, I think we're kind of hitting on the same thing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it feels like your gripe is that people are trying to, like, maybe there's a tendency to sort of like front load the interesting stuff when they're making their character, and then in play, they don't play them interestingly.
Right.
Sure.
Yes. And I think those people would be better served by the trope, because they wouldn't have to focus on their cool, unique character concept so much. They could focus on just being the classic halfling thief, right?
Right, sure.
And what that means. And they could kind of get into the personality of their halfling thief without being focused on their strange, you know, character, right? Like, so I think that's what I'm saying about like the utility of tropes.
Okay. So I kind of want to do for instance. So this is a very strange character, but it plays off of the playbook of the Ranger. It was a character that we saw in many anthology sessions, Pigeonhead.
Oh, right. He's got the nasty pigeon on his head, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that
might or might not be a demon, right?
Right. So, so is that a trope, or is that, and it's being played in a non-generic way, or is that a purple pansexual?
No, I think it's the former, because he was still fundamentally a ranger, right?
Yes.
Like at his core, he was still a ranger, but he had like cool personality quirks. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I think like I just took a little bit of umbrage at this like idea that like Pathfinder lets you make a unique character because it's got so many race options and so many move options and so many class options. And side note, all those awesome moves, they're just +1 to something, right? They're just +1 or does X damage. They're not that interesting.
Or if you're really good, they completely break the game. And
that's true.
You become more powerful than everyone else in the party.
What's that thing that Fowler always talks about? What's it called? Pun or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, I think I just took a little umbrage at this idea of like, you know, that's how you get uniqueness, you know?
Right. Well, but I think that's kind of understandable in a trad game because, you know, your characters are going to go out and they're going to use their abilities or whatever that are on the sheet, and you're kind of playing off the sheet the whole time. So, you know, it's not about like, when I think about the interesting characters that I've played, like the ones that I like the most, you know, a lot of them are pretty generic, but what made them interesting was like their relationships with the other characters and like what happened during play. But if you're not playing a game that focuses on that, I can see how your instincts, like if you want a character to be unique, would be to make a really like weird, crazy combination of rules. Like,
okay. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. It kind of goes back to something you said a few weeks ago in the cast where you said something about like in trad games, you have so few opportunities to shine. You have to like min-max your character so that you can do the best fucking thing you can.
Right. Yeah.
And it seems like it's kind of the same idea, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like I don't have any chances in this very traditionally run role-playing game to develop my character's personality. So I'm going to make him cool by giving him purple hair and making him, you know, like,
it's not going to be my character's like complex relationship with his father that's interesting in this game. Yeah. It's going to be like how badass he can swing his sword.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That's fair. I think that's fair. Okay. Yeah. I can kind of get behind that. I don't know what else there is to say. Do you have any more thoughts?
Well, about that, like, I feel like the idea that you get to choose, I'm, you know, this type of character class and I have this bizarre race that no one has ever heard of before. It can just kind of complicate things. And really it's just an illusion. Like it could just as effectively be a fill in the box of here's your name. You get to choose that. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. I kind of see what you're saying. Like that's kind of what we've been getting at. Like a unique thing just for the sake of being unique is not what we're looking for. Right. It's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So tropes, I think tropes are great. I think tropes serve a purpose. 44, the game we just talked about a little bit ago, that game relies very, very heavily on 1950s suburbia tropes, right? Like we all understand it. And that game sings because you're engaging those tropes and you're having a laugh about it. But because you understand it, like, you know how to role play it, right? Like, we were all like kind of automatically, you know, having the teenage characters say, golly, Mr. Jones, you know, and like, you know, we were doing that very instinctively because we understand that and we were having fun as a result. That's what I say when I say that like a trope, like, has a lot of use, right, in a role-playing game. And I think a very ornate setting or a very ornate character in a role-playing game often falls flat. I'm not making that the definitive word on this topic, but I just want to.
Right. I think like.
But that was a nice recent example of something we played.
Definitely.
That, proved the point, I think.
But some games, you know, don't lend themselves to that, like when we played Carcosa. Obviously,
that's true.
There weren't any fantastic tropes we were hitting there. We were doing pretty unique.
It was pretty out there. Yeah. That is a good point. Carcosa is, so Carcosa, yeah. Even for OSR stuff, Carcosa is pretty unique. Yeah. Okay. I stand corrected. I'm wrong.
Oh, wow.
Great topic. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, you're just gonna...
Are you crazy?
I was like, there's no way this is happening.
No, I guess there's no such thing as an absolute rule. I guess but just generally speaking, like, kind of the worst games we've played in the Gauntlet, like, the 3 or 4, like, just truly, like, like, games that flew off the rails were because we spent too much time making the setting really cool and unique and interesting, right? Like,
sure.
That always blows up in our face,
But I think that's sort of a trap of story games because you're not working from an established setting. And so if everyone doesn't have the same setting in their head when they start out, then you're not ever really telling the same story, even if you think you are. And at some point, it's just going to like fall apart.
Right.
So,
yeah. So the tropes are very helpful there.
Yeah.
Right?
So tropes, especially, I think in story games are really important. Yeah.
They keep you in line. They keep everybody in the same headspace. That's true. Yeah. Cool. Well, do you guys have anything else you want to say about this?
Well, when I first came up with this topic in my mind,
did you have something else in mind?
Right.
After I was like, that's a great topic, David. Here are my thoughts. And
what I thought the topic would be about is what games do a good job of helping you create characters. What games don't do a very good job of it. And
characters that don't seem generic?
Characters that don't seem generic, or characters that are mechanically different. Like in 44, the characters are all mechanically the same.
Right, yeah.
The only uniqueness is the life that you give to them.
A little bit of fluff at the beginning, yeah.
Well, but
I hate that word, fluff. I should bad.
It definitely wasn't. Yeah,
word.
It wasn't fluff because
it
was incredibly relevant. Like each of our characters was very unique, even though they were mechanically generic.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. The characters were very different, even though they were on the paper. They were all basically the same.
They all started at the same point.
Right. Yeah. The same. Like. Yeah. That's interesting.
It was a blank character sheet. It wasn't special in any way from the one that my neighbor had. But a game like Dungeon World has mechanically different playbooks.
Right. Yeah.
Then there's games like Burning Wheel, where the character creation process is a miserable, like...
Oh, no, stop. We love the Burning Wheel.
Yeah, that's why we didn't even play it.
I think the Burning Wheel character creation process is actually really fun. It is not fun with 4 people doing it at once. It's very fun to do by yourself, but boy, that's a system that really lets you create a unique character, even within a fantasy setting. Like, this is a mechanically unique character. My character is a candle maker who served on the front lines of the war and is now a butcher, right? Like, you can do that.
Yeah, it comes like preloaded with 15 pages of backstory.
Right, yeah. It's true. Yeah, you got all these life paths, and I'm not sure that's what I want in a role-playing game, but it's cool, I guess, that you can do that. I don't know. So that's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's a slightly different angle than where the conversation went, but did you have like a point you wanted to make on that, or was there?
No, I was just really wanting to explore what you guys thought about that, or if you could point to any, like, these games really do it well, and maybe more games should think about doing it like this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't come prepared for that, so I don't know. Dan,
well,
thoughts?
So the only thing I would say about that is every game that had characters in it that I actually really enjoyed were games like the Apocalypse World games, where you spend the whole first session just doing like how our characters all work in this world and like what their dynamic is with the rest of the characters and with the world. And like, that's what makes them unique. Same thing with Misspent Youth. Again, was another one where like the whole first session is just world creation and character creation and like exploring the relationships between them. And that's sort of like, it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? Because you're getting the backstory, but it's happening at the table and it's happening collaboratively. And so it's not, it's backstory, but it's still relevant to everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
Because everyone's involved in it.
Yeah.
And then there's also games like Fiasco, which has amazing character creation as far as like creating dynamic relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it sounds like just like any game. I think you're right, Dan. Any game where you get, per the rules of the game, you get to spend some time exploring backstory right then at the table in real time. Yeah. That's pretty. Yeah, I think that leads to unique characters. The characters come a little, and they kind of have to in some story games because you don't usually have a lot of time, right?
Right.
You usually have to kind of get to the meat of it, right? Especially in Fiasco, right? Like, you've got to get to the point, So that kind of makes sense. Yeah. I think that's definitely way more interesting than having gigantic menus of moves and stat modifying bonus things to pick from. I don't know.
I think that it's much more this kind of AMC, the channel idea, characters matter, where it's not so much about how good can I swing a sword. It's more about the relationships, and is my character like, what's he contributing to the story, and how is he telling a good story?
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, then again, we're bringing in our own prejudices of like, that's what's interesting is the relationships between the characters and all of that. If you want to play a game where you're just murdering monsters, then
that's true.
It's not necessarily interesting.
Well, and that's, actually that's true because here's the thing. Like, so here's a funny thing. I listen to other podcasts where people play Dungeon World, and probably no one in the whole world's played Dungeon World as much as I have, right? Like I've played tons and tons of Dungeon World.
I would actually believe that.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's totally true, right? I mean, but here's the thing. I listen to other podcasts or people who play Dungeon World, and a lot of times, like some people spend a lot of time on the bonds and like doing that, like fleshing that stuff out, almost like you do in a first session of like Apocalypse World or Monster Hearts, right?
Huh.
And I don't do that in Dungeon World. See, I think because in Dungeon World, that's not what I want.
Right.
In Dungeon World, I want to get to the fucking dungeon, the mega dungeon next month, the mega dungeon. And I want to get to the fucking dungeon and I want to start killing shit. And I want them to grab cool treasures and I want them to come back and have a party at the inn, right? Like that's what I want. Like it's cool when a lot of the interpersonal stuff like kind of comes up in the middle of it, especially when they make camp. But like, I don't feel the need to do that at the beginning of Dungeon World, right?
Right,
like,
sure, yeah.
Like, because to me, that's not the interesting part of Dungeon World.
It doesn't feel as genre appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be, but I mean, there are some people who play Dungeon World who really love it that way. And, that's good on them. That's great. Cause like I've heard some people say like, wow, Dungeon World does like character relationships better than any other fantasy role-playing game I played. Maybe it does, but I've never done that with it, So, I don't know. Would you enjoy it more, Dan, if we did it that way? I know you kind of like it generally. I don't know
how many shitty elves am I going to have to like try to help them heal the forest?
Would you care more about the elves if you learned about like how their cold, imperious father like disowned them and like they lived with them,
all right, yeah.
They had to go like do community service projects for like halfling orphanages or something like that.
Yeah, I could get into that.
See,
that
so that's
right.
So like, like that could be a thing, right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
If we'd explore some social issues with elves,
we could rehabilitate Dan.
Well, yeah, I think that's too far gone.
But as soon as everybody's like, we're headed to the mega dungeon, I'm really like, I'm gonna go repair the relationship with my dying father now.
Let me know how that.
I'll catch you guys in 4 weeks.
That would be. I would love the. I don't know. I wonder if anyone's ever done that, where you like you go through the process of putting together an adventuring party, and then you like don't go on the adventure. You like go through that'd be kind of fun. We should try that someday.
Oh man,
I don't know.
Maybe
not. I don't know. But, okay, cool. Well, that was a good topic.
So let me bring it.
Oh, sure.
Let me bring it back on topic for one thing because I just thought of one more thing. Do you think that in a game like Dungeon World, it's less important to have a unique character because what you can do isn't dictated by your character sheet? So like you have a lot more narrative control in combat. Like if you want your dude to do this cool move where he bounces off the wall and grabs the chandelier and like does all of that and murders a bunch of monsters at the same time, you can do that.
Right.
And you don't need like a rule that says you can do it.
That,
yeah.
right.
So you don't have to find like the rule in the splat book somewhere that gives you the ability to do that.
It's not some advanced feat or whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So do you think that kind of eliminates sort of the need to intensely customize your character?
Well, I think it does. And I think that's what I was trying to convey to this guy when we were chit-chatting. It was a very good conversation. I don't want people to think it wasn't good. It was a very good conversation. And I don't know if we ever reached any agreement or consensus, but like, it was a good conversation. And I think that's one of the things I was trying to convey to him, but it was hard to do via text, like to try to convey to him, like, in Dungeon World, your character is going to be unique because you're going to play him in the fiction that way. Right. You're going to like the mechanics of the game are a helpful tool to like to really, really dive into the fiction and twist it around and play with it and make cool things happen and put your individual stamp on your character. You don't need this the statted out character, like statted out with certain feats and things to do that. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, no, for sure. I think I was trying to convey that to him. I don't think I did a very good job, but
yeah, so I think that maybe that's what the difference is though, is that like in order to actually do cool and interesting things in some of these games that are more you're more strictly ruled by like you can do what is on your character sheet and that's basically it.
Right, yeah. I like, Dan, you know what you do that I think is great?
What's that?
My first instinct to say is just trad players are shit, right? Like you're all just shitty blind people. I'm sorry for you. No, that's not my person. No, but I think that's kind of like, I think I have like kind of like a patronizing like approach to trad players, right? I think that's
I
true.
hadn't noticed that.
Nobody
true?
will disagree with that. But it comes from a place of love, though. It always does. It comes from a place of love. So I think I have this like somewhat patronizing approach to it, but you don't. You have this like, it's not your fault, trad player. It's the game you've been forced to play.
Well, so here's the thing, is that I played in like several multi-year campaigns of D&D for all of these years. And so I know the impulse. I made a Dragonborn bard who was all wacky. I understand. I played that character for a year. He was pretty awesome.
Really sad that I never got to see you playing these characters in these games.
I know. I want to see this too. I know. Yeah.
I had a really complex relationship with my father. He was a blacksmith and he wanted me to be an adventurer, but I just wanted to sing. And so I still basically played the same characters.
Oh, wow.
You were that guy. Everybody else is like, it's my turn to roll initiative. And
they're like,
you were going into your backstory and stuff.
But I did put the legwork in, and I was an incredibly effective character in combat too.
Good,
so
good.
Oh, well, there
do
you
your
go.
part. Do
they
your
had
part.
nothing to bitch about.
Do your part. Dragonborn. Oh, what a terrible race. Dragonborn.
What does it even mean?
It's just like
It's like a dragon man.
there have been races like that throughout D&D, and Grimworld has one too. I don't like it because I think it takes away the specialness of dragons.
What?
Dragons are supposed to be majestic, those powerful creatures in the prime material plane, majestic, awesome, awe-inspiring, and you're telling me you got this like man version? No.
That's right. And he wants to sing, but he sucks at it, and he has a really complex relationship with his father.
No.
Man, he can't just grow up and go swing his sword something?
No.
No.
I don't know. I think dragon men demonetize dragons. I don't like that. So,
All right, noted.
All right. Well, that was a good topic. It was kind of rambly and all over the place, but I think we reached some interesting points.
I'd like to
Sure.
hope so.
Yes.
I like to think we all learned something.
I think we did. Yeah. All right. Let's do listener feedback. Okay, so listener feedback. We had lots of listener feedback on last week's episode about secrets. I thought it would be lots of contrary feedback about secrets, that people would be disagreeing with us. It turns out we were right. And all of the listeners agreed with us. So, except for one listener, listener Scott, and listener Scott brings up a couple of interesting points. Several listeners brought up some of these points. One of the things that was brought up was the idea of like the GM having secrets, but I kind of felt like just the conversation assumed that like, of course GMs have secrets.
Right, yeah.
That's not the same thing, right?
Right. They're not going to let you know, oh, there's a dragon up there. Watch out.
Right, yeah. Although he did mention one really specific case, which I thought was interesting, whereby, okay, so in Dungeon World, the GM has these grim portents, which are like basically a countdown clock that lets you, like bad things are happening, right? And it's going to lead to this.
But it's in the background.
It's
so
in the
you're
background,
not seeing
right.
it on screen.
Not necessarily,
Right,
right?
okay.
So he mentioned like one cool use of like a GM secret is like, whenever like, you know, somebody rolls a 6 and as the GM, you decide to go ahead and like mark off that grim portent, you like look at the players and then you just like make the mark on your paper, but don't say what it is. And everyone gets like, ooh, what was that? You know, I guess I could see that being like useful, I guess. I mean, but ultimately it kind of comes down to GMs always have secrets. I think we were talking about secrets between specific players in the GM and then between specific players at the table.
Right. Yeah,
Or games that have incorporated secrets into their rules, but maybe not quite sticking the landing. Right. So that was kind of that was a little bit of interesting feedback. We also had, as you will recall, I have very strong, strong negative reactions to secrets at the table. Like it really bothers me in a really, really and
Right, on like shakes you to your core.
it kind of does, yeah. Well, but here's the thing. Apparently, a lot of the listeners, it does too. This is not just some unique phenomenon to me, right? Like several of the listeners who posted on the G+, I could see the visceral reaction they were having, like in their posts, but just thinking about secrets at the table. So I feel very vindicated. But listener Charlie writes, I thought this was kind of interesting. I think it kind of, I like this. He says, we used to have a player in my group who was all about mysterious backgrounds. He would only tell me, the GM, and I would dutifully try to weave it into the narrative, but ultimately it made that story only his story. No one knew why the PC was doing what he was doing. He was pretty much playing his own game and finding things which were only relevant for him. None of his revelations landed in a way which made anyone care. So
That sounds about right.
That's about right. Yeah. And I think that's my basic problem was like that sentiment expressed is essentially why I don't like Secrets at the Table, because I feel, and it kind of goes back to our main topic discussion in a way, which is I don't like anything where a player is like, it's all about me.
Right.
It's all about me. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what bothers me. So, thank you for your solidarity, listener Charlie. A couple of listeners recommended some games. Listener Andy recommended View Scream as a game that uses secrets well. Do you know this game?
So I know very little about it. I know the name, and I know that it's a game that's made to be played over like Hangouts, essentially. Like it's made to be played online, and that's kind of all I know about it, though.
Okay.
So
I guess I should have done some homework beforehand.
probably so.
I don't know anything about it either. But anyway, View Scream, listeners, that might be one to check out. And listener Russ, and sometimes co-host Russ, also mentioned a game called Enter the Avenger. I've never heard of it. Have you heard of it?
Never heard of it.
Nope.
We will ask Russ about it next week.
All right,
That
great.
sounds good. Russ, get ready for it. We're going to ask you about Enter the Avenger and find out why the secrets are great in that one. And then finally, Scott, as I mentioned earlier, and also another listener named Philip. Philip and Scott bring up the possibility of PvP games being like a good fit for secrets. I think that's something worth discussing. What do you think? Like, where the game is specifically PvP, like it is a PvP game, is me versus you, where secrets can be okay in that regard, because what do you think? I don't know if I totally agree with that, but like, it's a curious way of like, slight difference in the conversation, I think. So.
I could see it being relevant. I just can't think of a for instance, like.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of like a pure PvP game that would be applicable
like
to.
in a Wicked Age, which is PvP. I don't see that being a very good utility to that game, because you need the other characters to kind of know what you're driving at.
Right. Yeah. In fact, your goals are like explicit, right?
They are explicit.
Yeah.
And if those were secret, I don't know if it would work very well.
Yeah. I don't think it would work very well.
But maybe there are PvP games out there I just don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, if there's like really hardcore PvP games that I'm not aware of, maybe, but I mean, I feel like all the PvP games I've played, you're still cooperating to tell a story, right? And so you're still all trying to steer the story in interesting ways. So I don't know.
Secrets it's the same roadblock where like, I don't have all the information I need to help make the story good.
Right.
Yeah. I think the only way it's going to work in a PvP situation is if the secret is really controlled. So, and I think one of the listeners mentioned this, I don't remember who it was, but basically like the only way it's going to work, possibly theoretically, is if like the secrets are really limited. Like there's maybe just a few to choose from on cards or something. And it's super limited. And so it's super limited so that like you have a sense of like maybe what the secret is, but you still have the suspense aspect, right? You still have the aspect of like, of there being like some unknown quantities about the character. So, and I guess maybe,
and then I guess
the Mountain Witch maybe was kind of trying to do that, but anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Folks should really go look at, the comment thread for last week's episode, because a lot of people had some really, it was mostly just confirming all of our suspicions, but, which I love. But there was a lot of interesting thoughts on there too.
Yeah, I feel like you do, I think, Jason, where you want to be proven wrong. Like you want there to be a really cool game.
Yeah, I do. I really
secrets
do.
are a big part of it.
I do, yeah.
And there's a big reveal and it's very satisfying. It's like that lost moment at the end of the episode where it's like, and you're like, oh my gosh.
But no one really, but with the possible exceptions of View Scream and Enter the Avenger, which I don't know much about yet, no one really had a game to offer that does it right.
Not yet.
You know, so I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know.
We'll stumble on it one day.
We'll see. That was listener feedback. A little scattershot like this whole episode. But that's okay. David, you bring that out in us, I think. So we'll just make sure to never have you on again. So that was our podcast. If you would like to have any comments on anything we said about anything, you should go to Google Plus and join our Google Plus community. You just search in the community section for the Gauntlet and we will come up. We have an email address. It is gauntletpodcast@gmail.com. You can reach us that way as well. And I think that's all I've got. So thanks so much, David, for joining us for the last time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks. So by the way, if you ever want more sea monkeys, you can go to Great Salt Lake because it's like crawling with sea monkeys. That's
Really?
like, yeah, because that's like the only thing that can live there is basically
Brine
sea
shrimp.
monkeys. Yeah, brine
Yeah.
shrimp.
I feel like you guys know too much about this. Is it just me? Like, I feel like you guys know too much about this subject.
Well, I mean,
I haven't even said the word sea monkey in my brain for like, since I was like 10. like,
well, so the reason I know it is because when I went to Salt Lake City and we went there, it's disgusting because the water level was really low. And so it was just like a carpet of dead sea monkeys all the way out from like the regular water line to where the water actually was.
Sounds
It was
about
like
right.
dead sea monkeys and flies
Wow.
was just like swarming all over it. Like when you walked, it looked like the ground was literally like boiling. There were so many flies.
oh, gross.
That's nasty.
It was kind of amazing and like disgusting at the same time. Like it was awe-inspiringly disgusting.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, sea monkeys are pretty ridiculous. They can do that Jurassic Park thing where there's just one of them, and then it's like there's another one.
what?
They like one of them can create and fertilize its own egg.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I thought
yeah.
you were talking about like they hunt like raptors.
Yeah.
it's like
Like you're watching one and then another one comes up behind you.
yeah, like clever girl.
Clever
They don't do
girl.
that. Yeah,
They
okay.
don't do that.
Clever girl.
No, it's they're all females, but there's eggs and they're fertile.
Life
right.
finds a way.
Life finds a way.
Finds a way. Yeah.
Finds a way.
Jurassic World, can't wait.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be great.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that's the one thing about that movie that I'm like, really?
He is so hot. Oh, God, he's so hot. All right.
That's great. He should go do gay porn or something.
Yeah,
and,
he
like,
really should.
And like stay out of, and
He
stop,
really should.
and stop bringing his like comedic looking ass into my serious
Love him.
dinosaur movie. God damn it!
All right.
I'm super serial about this.
Exactly.
These dinosaurs.
Okay. Listeners, the shows we record sometimes 8 hours of material and Dan winnows it down to like an hour.
On nights like these, we do. Yeah.
He brings us into this little room, he locks the door, and he says, we're not leaving until we have an
Right.
hour and a half of usable material.
Get in my sweat box.